So we will start with a brief introduction about Best for the World from my dear colleague Gudrun. Gudrun, over to you.
Thank you, Lucia, and greetings everyone from Berlin. It's also very, very hot today here in Berlin, but I'm excited that still so many people are joining us. I'm Gudrun Drexler, Communications Coordinator at BLab Europe, and I'm very excited to be here with you all today. Today we have the pleasure of hearing and learning from 5 different European B Corps that all have one thing in common. They are all recognized as Best for the World 2022. So before introducing our wonderful speakers, I will give you a quick overview of what Best for the World is, in case you have never heard about it. So how do you even become a B Corp in the first place? To obtain the B Corp certification, a company needs to go through the B Impact assessment, which measures the positive impact of the company in 5 different areas. The 5 areas you can see here on the screen: community, customers, environment, governance, and workers. And every year, BLab recognizes the top 5% of all B Corps in each of these 5 impact areas based on their score and their size group. These B Corps with great positive impact are then named Best for the World, and we just released this year's Best for the World list. We will also paste a link to the full list into the chat, so please make sure to check them out. There are many, many more than you can meet today. But Best for the World is much more than a recognition, because these businesses are proving that competing to be the best for the world, not in the world, is a winning strategy, and they can lead the way to inspire other businesses and share their knowledge with the community. And this is why we are here today. So before learning from our speakers today, let's take a look at what it takes to be best for the world in a certain area. For example, in the area of community. If we can go to the next slide, thank you. So these companies have best practices and policies in place that positively impact the community. For example, charitable giving, social engagement, or a very strong focus on their suppliers. And yeah, we can say that these are top performers in contributing to the economic and social well-being of the communities in which they operate. Here, when we take a look at the customers, we are talking about B Corps that add great value to their customers' lives. For example, they offer products and services that support the greater good or are essential, like education or healthcare. And they also often focus on underserved populations and engage in ethical marketing. B Corps that are recognized as best for the world in the area of environment are putting the planet first. And looking at this heat today, I think this is very, very important. So they are offering products and services designed to solve an environmental issue. They often focus on their impact on the air, climate, water, land, biodiversity throughout the whole supply chain. And this is really important. Then next we have the area of governance. These are B Corps that have a top score in overall mission, ethics, accountability, transparency, and are amongst the best for the world for this reason. And their best practices are focused on how they engage with employees, board members, and the community. So all the different stakeholders a company has. And then last but not least, the 5th impact area, the area of workers. Here we are talking about B Corps that create remarkable positive impact for the workforce. For example, when it comes to compensation, benefits, training, ownership opportunities, job flexibility, the workers' health and safety, which is also very, very important. And yeah, now that we're familiar with these 5 impact areas, or the areas how we from the B Corp movement define these 5 areas, I'm handing it back over to Lucia, so she can tell us a little bit more about the best for the world companies in Europe.
Thank you, Gudrun. That was such an amazing presentation and a very colorful one, fully in the spirit of this campaign. So last week, Build Up Europe announced the 2022 Best for the World list, recognizing 151 certified B Corps for their positive impact across 14 countries. Congratulations to all the companies on the list. I'm sure there are some of you here with us today, and you will meet the speakers shortly. But let us know in the chat if there are any Best for the World companies. In terms of B Corps recognized for each impact area, in Europe, governance is the highest number with 51 companies, followed by environment with 44, community with 31, customer with 26, and workers with 18. Here on the map, you can see how the Best for the World B Corps are distributed across Europe. And you can also explore the complete list on our website and access their directory profiles on the global website to find out more about their work. And I think we just shared a link in the chat, or we're about to. In terms of methodology, the cutoffs per each impact area change every year. So depending on the scores, to ensure fairness as well in the identification process, each list is further subdivided into group companies by size, as each of these sizes has a particular route for the scoring on the BIA. If you're interested in finding out more about eligibility criteria and methodology, please take a look at the link that we just shared in the chat. And of course, today we have the honor of having 5 representatives from 5 different recognized B Corps across the continent, from Spain, Belgium, Germany, France, and Italy. And they're here with us to share their know-how, learnings, insight, and concrete example from the impact work. So it's my pleasure to introduce you to Fabrizio Acanfora, Communication and External Relations at Specialisterne, recognized for community, Elena Stark, Impact Manager at Tomorrow, recognized for customer, Juliane Greff, Sustainability Expert Plant-Based at Europe for Alpro, and it's recognized for environment, Isabelle Mashola, CEO and founder of isahit, recognized for governance, Antonio Pelosi, CEO and founder of Albergo Etico, the first Roma recognized for workers. So we hope that the B Corps today will inspire you to challenge yourself and leverage the power of this fantastic community. In the end, we're going to have time for the Q&A, so please put your question in the chat and we will address them later. And now we start with the first speaker, so Fabrizio Acanfora from Specialisterne. Fabrizio, over to you.
Hi, thanks a lot. Hi everybody. My name is Fabrizio Acanfora and I'm responsible for the communication and external relation of Specialisterne Italia, but I also work for Spain, and I'm also an autistic advocate. So let's see. Yeah, the next one, please. Great. So our story begins in 2004 in Denmark. The man you see in the slide is Torkild Solna, our founder. And everything starts when he discovers that his son, Lars, gets diagnosed with autism. So he starts wondering about his future, his independence, will he have a job? And 1 month after a trip across Europe, something happened. His son made the drawing you see in the slide, and I don't know if you can guess what it is, but it's very difficult to guess it first sight. So we can go to the next one. Then yes, that's it. It's an index of European roadmaps, and the thing is that the boy made the drawing by heart after just seeing it on a map a couple of times during the family trip. So he discovered that autism is not just problems and deficits, no? And thought that maybe some of the very characteristics that autistic people show can be incredibly useful in some companies and in some types of jobs. I think there is an animation in the slide, so you can, I think, go next. Yes. And what he did was he mortgaged his house and founded Specialisterne, which in Danish means the specialists, and you can imagine why. And with the mission of helping autistic individuals find and maintain a job and gain independence. We can go The next one. So today, Specialisterne has 14 offices in 14 countries, but has a direct or indirect presence in 25 countries. Next one. And we have actually a dual mission. What we want to do is to create the largest number of qualified job opportunities for autistic people in the world, but also we want to help change the perception of the value of autistic people in the labor market. So we are partners of the United Nations on the Autism at Work theme, and our initiative is aligned with some of the sustainable development goals, in particular with, we will see in the next slide, number 4, quality education, number 8, decent work and economic growth, reduction of inequalities, number 10, and 17, alliance to achieve these objectives. Specialisterne Spain is also certified as a B Corp. That's why we're here. And so we are really proudly part of a community of companies that prioritize social over economic impact. And we are also very happy because we were also best for the world 2019 in the community category. So we're really very proud and very happy for that one. Now, let's go to the issue. Let's talk about autism, which is our focus. We know that according from the latest news from the Centers for Disease Control in the United States, that 1 in 44 children are diagnosed with autism, which is about 2% of population. It's more than 1% I've put there. I have to update information. We can go on, but the real problem is that between 70 and 85% of autistic individuals don't have a job. And according to some surveys made in the US and the UK, for those who have a job, it usually is an underpaid job, or they don't have a regular contract. So the situation is very, very bad for autistic individuals. Next one. So, I mean, given the problem, how do we try to solve it? Well, we start by shifting our point of view and embrace the neurodiversity paradigm, which actually includes all of us. What is neurodiversity? Is a rainbow of variation in which we are all included. It's the natural variation of the neurocognitive functions of all human beings. Then we have a what is recognized as an average functioning, so the social accepted one, which is called neurotypical. And then anything that diverges from that standard is defined as neurodivergent. So basically, neurodiversity is a political word, and it was created in 1998 by an autistic Australian sociologist named Judy Singer. And it really has a very strong identity value for the autistic community around the world. So this concept is very important for us because it prompts us to look at autism from a different perspective. Thinking about autism as a set of deficits means thinking in terms of limits. But thinking of autism as a set of differences, so we don't want to exclude the difficulties, but they are differences, and then it means thinking about possibilities. Next one. So this is what you see is how usually autism is seen in the world, and disability in general, just as a set of deficits. That means that we are usually defining the person for what they cannot do, their supposed limits. But if we go to the next one, we see what we're trying to do, which is instead of looking at the deficits, we look at it the other way around. So we see characteristics, differences, statistical data that can be also possibilities, talents. Next one, please. So we know that the problem, the challenge is not really autism, but the fact that autistic people who perceive and experience the world in a different way have to interact with a society that is structured and regulated by and for neurotypicals, so non-autistic people. And this is true also at work. So the result is that on one side, as you can see in the slide, we have autistic people with some specific characteristics and abilities. And on the other side, we have companies that would need, and maybe I think they may use, and we know they may use those characteristics and abilities. And so on the next one, that's where we come in, trying to fill the gap between the autistic person and the companies. How do we do it in practice? Going very fast, but we're almost at the end. So first of all, we need and we find autistic candidates, people who need a job. We offer them both technical, which is very important, and socio-occupational training to help them understand the work environment. But at the same time, we train the company, because we know that inclusion, it too often can be a paternalistic process. So we want to create a reciprocal inclusion where each part goes towards the other. In other words, we want to create a common ground where autistic and neurotypicals try to understand each other. Otherwise, we know it doesn't really work. And when this is all accomplished, so the person enters the company, they will have the support of a job coach who works as a cultural mediator, helping both the autistic employee and the company to reach that reciprocity, that common ground we are aiming for. So next one, we know this has a profound and important impact, not only on business, but also on society. For instance, just a couple of examples. Harvard Business Review conducted a study and highlighted a that neurodiverse testing teams at HPA were 30% more productive than average. Or at SAP, the neurodiverse teams also have developed a new debugging technology that has resulted in an estimate, I think, savings of $40 million. And then there is a study from PricewaterhouseCoopers that found out that for each crown in Denmark invested by the state in the Specialisterne, 2.2 returns in taxes and contribution generated by the productive work of the person. So we see as the impact goes into the society. But more important is improving the quality of life of autistic people is crucial. And 89% of employed people, autistic people, perceived an improvement in their economic and social independence, which is not such an obvious finding, because as an autistic individual myself, I can really guarantee that having a real job where you are treated as equal and paid as the other people around you can really change your life, improve your self-esteem and mood, give you economical stability and independence. And we also know that people don't live in their offices. We all go out into the community and we bring these ideas and this approach, which is not only to autism, but more generally to diversity. So we bring it into our society and we help it becoming a more open and inclusive place. So just the last thing is, I just wanted to clarify why, this is our reciprocal approach to inclusion. So why did we choose the dandelion seed as our logo? Basically because depending on the point of view, it can be a weed that you want to eradicate, from your lawns, or it can be the flower or one of the most useful and valuable plants in nature with medical and healing properties. So basically everything depends on how we look at it. And this is what we try to bring into society. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Fabrizio, for sharing the work of Specialisterne. I think companies will feel very inspired and they will rethink maybe their hiring practices and think of neurodiversity. And from community to customers, now we hear from Elena Stark from Tomorrow and the company awarded for customers.
Yes. Thank you, Lucia. Happy to be here and happy to share what makes Tomorrow special in the area of customers. So when we have a look at the banking world, we see on the next slide yeah, let's see, we can go to the next slide again. Yeah. That even in 2021, at only the 5 largest private banks in Germany invested more than 25.8 billion euros into fossil fuels still, even though we signed the Paris Climate Agreement in 2016, which is a huge bummer for all that are fighting for the SDGs. So Tomorrow decided to add purpose to our bank accounts, as you can see on the next slide, because most of the people don't know what they are funding. So this is quite a very sad example that the Florida Teachers Pension Fund invested in the maker of the school massacre gun back in 2018. So we don't know what our money is funding, and we want to add purpose to our bank accounts and make everybody feel comfortable with how their money is working within their absence. So at Tomorrow, we have a vision of establishing sustainable finance at the heart of society, and therefore create a better future for everyone by using money as a force for good and not as a force for only profit. And we do this by making sustainable finance an easy and beautiful experience so that everybody can enjoy it and it's not a niche product. So what have we already achieved? We have over 126,000 customers right now and 381 million euro in customer deposits, out of which we invested 112 million euro into sustainable bonds and were able to facilitate over 400,000 euros in donations. With this, we saved over, there is a million missing, 242 million kilograms of CO2 emissions, which is amazing. And we are still very proud of. But what makes Tomorrow a best for the world B Corp in the area of customers? That's what we wanted to talk about today. So there are 4 main steps. The first one is customer stewardship. Tomorrow puts the customer very first, because we say, other than, for example, other venture capital funded neobanks, we are not aiming to become a unicorn. So that's something, maybe you know this term in the startup world. It's a company who gets evaluated at $1 billion or euros quite fast. We are zebras. Why are we zebras? Because we are real and we live in a community. So our community and our customers are very important to us, and we put them first. So how does this look like in our working day-to-day? We, as we said, have the mission of making sustainable finance an easy and beautiful experience. Easy and beautiful also for senses of inclusion, like Fabrizio already stated, are viewed differently by everyone. What is easy, what is beautiful, depending on how you're able to view at something. So we consider emotions and our customers as a material component of our product, and we want to understand and accompany everybody around their user journey. So how can we make sure that we do it? We can see on the next slide that we do have our crowd as a major shareholder, and therefore we are of course also influenced by our customers. The second thing is we get direct feedback from our customers every day via the App Store or other forms of communication. So for example, our support, and we measure our success against these user-centered KPIs, which led us to become the best rated banking app in Germany. And we have certain channels of communication with our stakeholders and especially with our customers. So we have a public community forum that is accessible to everyone. We have internal impact meetings, but we also have impact meetups or product meetups where all our customers or everybody who's interested can participate, and we discuss what we are planning to do, our strategy, and so on. And I think the heart of everything is our machine room. In German, it makes a bit more sense, but it's kind of like the engine. So this is a board that we share with everyone, what we are working on today, what we are working on tomorrow, and what we already achieved. So our customers can directly influence the new features and products we are planning. And then we have some other processes and dialogue spaces. So for example, our external impact council who review our sustainability performance and help us to become better. But I think for the area of customers, our meetups, the forum and the machine room are the most important ones. So that's the first part, customer stewardship. Second is impact by design. So when you have a bank account at Tomorrow, impact is totally is part of everything. So there is just one sustainable option. So sustainability is integrated in our product, and we also have very high transparency standards, which was also recognized because of our very intense portfolio reporting. And we commit to this mission and our values internally and externally. So we are certified B Corp, we want to maintain this impact, we are a climate neutral company, and we always make sure that everything is visible, transparent to our customers at any time. So all of our investments are visible in real time within the app. And next slide, please. We see ourselves more as a catalyst for true sustainability, because of course it's the money of our customers. It's not our own money, which a lot of banks seem to forget that they should act in favor of the customers. So our products come with 3 pillars. The first one is sustainable banking, the second one is sustainable investing, and the third one is sustainable way of life. And we want to support our customers in all areas. And a Tomorrow user can therefore save up to 11.17 tons CO2 per year just by using their Tomorrow bank account and their Tomorrow card to the full extent. So that's how we included impact. But for our certification, since we are a financial player, the most important part to become best for the world in the area of customers was targeted for investment and our investment criteria. Because of course, that's what's most material to a sustainable finance player or finance player in general. We can be very good to our customers in product development, but it matters where the money goes. So how do we decide this? We decide to link our vision of a better future closely to the SDGs 10, 12, and 13 and made our own mission statement kind of out of it. So we say that we want to fight the climate catastrophe as the biggest threat to global social welfare, while financing a sustainable transformation of the economy and incentivizing consumption change. Because of course, we all need to change. We need to change production and we need to change consumption. And that's, I think, what's most important for us. Like we say we want to fight the climate catastrophe. We say we want to help shift to a sustainable economy. But why do we do that? It's to reduce inequalities within and among countries and a life worth living for present and future generations, because all of the reasons listed before are not worth anything in itself. It's everything for humans and that we can live on this beautiful planet, not only now, but also in the future. And that's how we choose our investments. And we have a quite extensive investment criteria and process that I just quickly want to skip through. We say that we exclude all controversial business models. For us, it's mostly fossil fuels and also, for example, human rights abuses, of course, but also certain governance factors. But the most controversial part for us at the moment is fossil fuels and also, for example, fossil fuel linked mobility topics. Then we do the positive screening. Maybe you can click, I think 2 times, please. Yeah, we had a look at the 17 SDGs and defined criteria for all of them in the area of ensuring basic needs, empowerment, climate protection, nature, and fairness. And only companies who do something very crucial to these challenges and support the SDGs are eligible for an investment. Then we do verify the Paris Climate Agreement. This is an example for our current stock fund that will be launching within the next month or 2. So this step depends on the product, but mostly we focus on climate right now. And then I think what differs us most from banks is what comes next, which is the negative screening. So we have quite an intense list of 43 detailed negative criteria, which go from no intensive livestock farming up to no violations of 5 treatments of animals or law infringements or something like this. And a company who doesn't comply with all of these criteria, they are kicked out. So you are not only allowed one strike, and I think that's what's most important for our investment strategy to be really hard with our negative criteria, because we say that companies who do not comply with these ones have no, how do you say, like license to operate in the future. Yes. And that's how, in the last step, our external impact council then also verifies our impression of a company. So they have the last word, so to say, whether a company is included in our investment universe or not. And yeah, that's how we source the most sustainable companies, and therefore be true to our mission and truly use money as a force for good and not as a force for everything that's profitable, no matter what is behind it. Yes, and that's all from me. So let's empower the companies that will run the 21st century together and create a good planet for this generation and future generations.
Thank you, Elena. Tomorrow really puts customers at the core of their impact work. So now we're going from customers to environment. So I'll hand it over to Juliane from Alpro. Juliane, over to you.
Yeah, so good afternoon, everybody. So my name is Juliane Greff. So I'm working at Alpro as a sustainability expert for plant-based in Europe. So helping Alpro to achieve its ambitious commitments for sourcing ingredients, operation and packaging. And so I'm really honored to be part of this webinar with such inspiring B Corps. And I'm happy to share today some insights about our B Corp journey at Alpro. So from our missions to the 2 B Corp certifications we went through and towards having positive impacts on the future. So you can go to the next one, please. Yeah, so about Alpro. So we were founded more than 40 years ago. So our starting star ingredient at the time was the soya. So turned into either alternatives to drinks or to yogurts. But then in the last decade, we extended our portfolio to more ingredients, including the nuts, transforming more and more products, so including iced coffee, ice cream. And so recently we launched our This Is Not Milk drink. We can go to the next one, please. So since 1980, so Alpro's missions is to pioneer a healthier eating and sustainable living, so a better way to feed the world. So we believe the biggest impact we can have as a brand using business as a force for good is to convince our consumers to switch to a more plant-based diet, so make it a positive choice for the planet and its people. So all through our existence, our goal has been to continuously improve our products' ecological footprint, and make them healthier. So it means to transform the way we source, grow, and produce. So for instance, we partner with Albergo here in Belgium to grow soya locally. Back in 2018, we partnered with WWF with the Science-Based Targets for Nature to study the planetary boundaries when growing our almonds in the Mediterranean region. And so in the last decade, we implemented programs in our factories to limit our impacts. And so, for instance, we reduced by 30% our carbon footprint in operations and our water footprint by 20%. We also introduced bio-based content in our package for drinks. And so you can go to the next one, please. And so following this long heritage and mission, it was just making sense for us to be B Corp back in 2018, the first time. So we were at the time pioneering the global Danone ambitions toward B Corp. And so we certified with the great score of 87. But so it was neither a start of an end. We focused even more combining health and sustainability. Because, yeah, So we know as a food company that food has an incredible impact on our planet. So along the supply chain from sourcing to operations, end of life, there are many impacts on nature. But we believe these impacts can be positive and that the food system can be part of the solutions to fight and mitigate climate change. But however, we have to adapt the way we eat. So there is a growing awareness among scientists, NGOs, policymakers that think that shifting towards a more plant-based diet is part of the solutions for global environmental and social pressures that we face today and tomorrow. And so to go a step further, a year and a half ago, for its 40th birthday, Alpro designed a sustainability pledge. So starting with this question, can we feed 10 billion people a healthy, diversified diet with the resources our planet has to offer? Resources that we know are more and more fragilized. And so the answer is yes. If you go to the next one, please. If we create a plant-based diet that is good for you and our planet. So a planetary plate respecting health and planet boundaries. So with committing to restore resources, health and trust to improve the way we grow, source and produce our plant-based alternatives. And so now I have a little videos to show you a bit more about the concrete commitments we took on the pledge. Thank you. So as you just saw, it's a renewal of our promise to create a better world through sustainability and health commitments. So we set 28 concrete commitments to reach by 2025. And so being a B Corp is also part of this pledge. And as the B Corp standards are continuously evolving, we are pushed to do better every time to be sure to have the recertification. Because even if your score stays the same, it means you have a better performance. And so you can go to the next one. And so our focus on the planet and health hasn't gone unnoticed. So last year we obtained our B Corp recertifications with the overall score of 106.3. And so we were also recognized by B Lab as best for the world in the environmental part last year also. So it's the second year in a row. So it's much more than just a badge of honor. It also gives us motivations to keep increasing our efforts. So if you go to the next one, please. So between the two certifications, so it's an increase of almost 20 points. So thanks on one hand to operation progress, we did reducing our carbon, water, waste emission, but also having our pledge with ambitious commitments and transparent communication on it. And so we won't stop there. So we have already identified best practices to focus and to work on now for the next certification. So this is what I will detail now on the next one, please. So first, so why to build an improvement plan? So as I mentioned, we want to improve our product's footprint. And so having the big audits on one end is really very valuable to have this external independent assessment, but it also gives us inputs to strategy and help us to focus on where we need to improve. And so using big standards as a guidance pushes us to do better and improve our impacts on planet and society. And so as I mentioned earlier, so being a B Corp is part of our pledge. So we need to make sure to that we are pushed to do better every time to be sure to have the certification. And then lastly, so build an improvement plan, including our score is also a recognition that can be used to show the outside world that we are a responsible business, and it's also a movement. So we are here to encourage other companies to join this movement and to get inspirations from others as well. And so how to build one? At the time of the certifications, we created different contents to engage internally and externally on B Corp messages and values. So for instance, we built an internal Q&A on B Corp, so including explanations on the B Corp values, but also some analysis elements on our journey at Alpro. So what was behind the score of each category with earned points, but also highlighting improvement areas, clear actions to take. And so in parallel, we also had the live sessions with all Alpro employees to show them and present them the results. And so having both in parallel, we triggered the interest of departments. And so we had follow-up meetings with them to see what could be feasible in 3 years' time. And so what is it in it? So we know that environmental accountability is key. Knowing where your impacts is like the basis of everything. And having robust data is well recognized by B Corp. So we want to continue evaluate our impacts and the impacts of Alpro products portfolio through extensive life cycle analysis. And so we're also continuing to work with the science-based target for nature. So expanding from setting science-based targets for carbon only to also include all impacts we have on biodiversity, water, land, etc. And so now that was the end of it. So thanks for listening, and yeah, happy to answer your questions later on.
Thank you, Juliane. It's always a pleasure to hear stories of continuous improvement from B Corps. And from environment to governance, now we hear from Isabelle from isahit. Isabelle, over to you.
Hello, good afternoon to everybody, to the hot cities. It's very hot where I am right now. Next, please. So isahit has been, so I'm Isabelle and CEO and co-founder with Philippe Cojambet of isahit. Isahit has been created 5 years ago. The idea with isahit was to, or is to use technology in a growing market, such as artificial intelligence and other, the digital world, to help women across the world to be socially and financially independent. So the model, as you will see within isahit, has embedded a program to really accelerate on the ground social impact. Next, please. So you have to see isahit as a technical platform where we take projects from customers, and today we have approximately 350 customers across the world, from startup to scale up, corporation, CAC 40 and GAFAM, where they give us project. We take this project and we divide those projects into digital tasks, and we call the crowd women who are working on those tasks. Our value proposition with isahit is we have a diversified workforce across the world, and those diversified workforce has a lot of competency but no opportunity. We are part of what we call impact sourcing world, whereby we are doing externalization, but with a social impact that from day one we are measuring, because it's good to talk about social impact, but it's more important to measure it, because nowadays a lot of folks talk about impact because it's like a very hot subject right now. And we are paying this workforce very high, from 4 to 6 more times than usually what they would receive compared to a normal salary. And the idea behind it is we have established a cost of living per country, as we are from Africa to South America, Asia, Europe, and now even in France, where we are calculating the cost of living to really pay those ladies the best amount. You come to isahit when you're a worker because you're a woman, and because you want to achieve a project of life. What is a project of life? You're a student. You had to stop your education because of a lack of money, or you want to live in a decent way while you are studying. Second project, you are an entrepreneur, and everybody knows that when you're an entrepreneur, you need some money to keep the buzz, or you want to launch your entrepreneur mission. And third, you are looking for a job. This is a really project. So you come to isahit, you're going to work for 3 years, max 100 hours a month. And the reason behind it is because if you really have a project, you can't work 200 hours a month. Otherwise, you wouldn't have time to focus on your project. And during these 3 years, you're going to work with a community. You're going to learn about collaboration. You're going to be trained, not only on the training that is necessary to perform the task at isahit, but we will see later that we have a program, our own isahit Digital Academy, whereby you can learn a lot of other stuff, such as marketing digital, how to perform a recruitment interview, or learning Python, which is a code for machine learning algorithm, anything you want during these 3 years that makes you, as a woman, after these 3 years, socially and financially independent. Next, please. We are providing 3 types of services. Everything we do is through digital. And before the COVID, where everybody and the lockdown, or where everybody had to stay at home and work from home, from day one, isahit has been built to allow those women to work from home. Because unfortunately, in those countries, emerging countries, the life of the woman is tough. It's tough because even if she's a student, sometimes she's got kids, no dad, she's by herself. There is no subway in those countries, so it's very difficult to go somewhere to have a job. And having the ability and the possibility to work when they want from home, combining multiple days into one day, is a great input for them. So we're providing 3 types of services. The computer vision is really around annotation of video and images for our customers. So we are doing skin recognition, for example, for L'Oreal. We are doing landscape recognition for Airbus to help the plane to take off by itself, or trash recognition, where we analyze the trash to help Veolia and other companies. We're also doing NLP. It's a same kind of annotation with words. It's typically where we will learn a chatbot. You know, everybody had the experience when you log on a website and you try to dialogue with a chatbot. If you start to really take the chatbot with very complex words, it does not understand and is not capable to answer you. We're also doing sentiment analysis, whereby customers are asking us to analyze what are the trends, what are we saying about those on the social network. And the last one, which was the original service that we were providing, is data content and services. This service has been blown up after the COVID, where a lot of marketplaces had to digitalize their components. So we are very proud of having a unicorn in France like Mano Mano, but Manutan, Kingfisher, all those guys who are using us to attach the human part to the technology, because you got to remember, technology cannot do everything. Next slide, please. As of today, we are having a community of women above 1,400. As I mentioned, we are in 4 continents, including France since 3 months. We are covering 24 hours by 7 support. And we also have ambassadors who are helping the women at the beginning of the story of isahit, because you got to realize that those women, majority of them, live in the informal economy, and in the informal economy, there is no future. You gotta be in the formal economy. To be in the formal economy, you gotta have proper paper, you have to pay your taxes, you have to have a freelance certificate to really be legal, because as a French legal entity, isahit, we don't wanna work in an illegal way. Our model, as I said at the beginning, is very unique, as we have created a program called isahit Help. And what we're doing with this program represents 5% of our revenue. So 5% of our revenue is dedicated to education through our isahit Digital Academy, where the lady will learn how to navigate in the digital world, but we're also doing partnership with associations or companies like Simplon, Open Classroom, Make Sense, Livestorm, and others to really help the lady to get everything she needs to get the right skills. And in average, she's getting like 7 to 15 skills during the time she's at isahit. We are making sure that the salary she's going to earn is based on a part-time. As I said, she can't work more than 100 hours a month. She's going to be on average 4 times the market price on the country. And the program is really also giving her opportunity after isahit to search for partnership and find job with our community. As I said, a lot of companies are talking about impact, but talking about impact is not enough. You got to measure it. Since day one of the company, no, please, since day one, we have used Kimso, which is a B Corp company, by the way, who has, I can't see my slide, but I guess it's going to come back. We are using Kimso, who every year is using quantitative and qualitative data to assess the impact of isahit. We're going to publish our next report in September, and the old report are on our website if you're interested. But mainly 4 main reports are articulated. The first one, which is for me the most important, is the empowerment. As a woman, if you don't have confidence into you, you're not going to move forward. Professionalization, as you are really, even if you're working from home on a remote, you learn how to become a professional. You are trained, and you have this financial inclusion, which allows you to achieve what you want to do. Next, please. So here is a couple of things that we have done. So first of all, we've been certified B Corp in December 2021. And as my colleague mentioned, the score obtained and B Corp got a score of 114, which we were very proud of. And what are we doing that is really maybe the best of the art of around the governance? I mentioned our business model, that it's included to our status that 5% of our revenue are redistributed to accelerate social impact. And by the way, we are working on creating a foundation, isahit Foundation, by end of the year to even further accelerate our social impact, because we have external partners, clients who want to help and support this social impact, but as a legal SAS company, we cannot receive external money, and that's one of the reasons why we are creating our foundation. The KPI I mentioned is that every year we are tracking those KPI to really measure our impact. We are doing it by an external company, Kimso, and we are publishing those KPI on our website, and those KPIs are really important for us. It's measured by our employees, it's measured us as co-founders in our variable salary. It's very important. Through the governance BIA, you earn a lot of points, if I can say. I think it's 10 points, which is quite a lot. If you incorporate into your status the formal mission statement. And this is what we have done, although we had already a raison d'etre, I'm not sure how you say in English, but within the company, and we have built the company on really 5 core values. We are doing, we are compensating our workforce very well, and we are aligned with SDG 1, 8, and 10, which is really to reduce poverty within the world and equal opportunities for everybody. Next, please. As I mentioned, the company at the beginning has been created with this 5% business model, but we also have based on 5 core values, which are clearly articulated on our website. And those core values is not a question of saying we have those values. We are sharing them with our own employees. This is included into the objective of the employee. And although we are a small company, we are 23 people, we are based in a co-working environment, so we are not really controlling the green aspect. And in fact, it shows in the score that on the green part, we were not so high because we are being hosted somewhere. But we all employees have objective, we have a chart of ethics that we are really, that is really important for us. I mentioned we are working in the artificial intelligence world, and a lot of customers sometimes ask us to monitor some community where potentially you're exposed to see drugs, sex, violence. Based on our ethic, we are saying no. Even if we are a small company and we need to sign more contracts, obviously, to grow, but it's a firm no, because we really have the limit of what we want to expose our workers. We have a board of directors, and this board of directors is really engaged through their KPI, and we are reviewing with them each quarter. Our employees also have access to these KPIs, financial KPIs. It's all transparent. Transparency and honesty are part of our core values. As I mentioned, one of the variable part of my salary and Philippe's salary is based also on social KPI. This is new, in fact, this year in 2022, proposed by Philippe and I. We have an impact committee. I think we are at the essence of doing a social impact on the ground, but I think it's also important to listen to other parties. So we have a committee. It includes 10 people from key stakeholders, 2 ambassadors like Marie-Perle in Senegal, Dakar, and also a heater. This is how we call the ladies working for us. And with this committee, twice a year, we are reviewing the priority as to what we want to do. And even the heaters, so this community, can feedback us to change things. For example, when we when we created isahit, it was 2.5 years, the length of isahit. And we had a good big push from the community saying, well, 2.5 years is not enough, we need more. And we changed to 3 years. We had also other changes in the payment methodology and so on. And as I mentioned, coming soon, we will have this isahit Foundation based in France. To focus of this foundation is around to be women, tech, and education. Next slide, please. So thanks for listening, and I hope that I gave you some good tips and ready to answer any questions.
Thank you, Isabelle. Such an amazing work and exemplary practice of governance and accountability and transparency. Now we move from governance to workers, and I give the word to the final speaker of the day, Antonio from Albergo Etico.
Hello, everybody. Hello. I'm very happy to be here today with you. Thank you for this recognition. I'm very happy, and I would also like to congratulate to all the speakers that represent the corps that spoke before me. You all are beautiful history, beautiful examples to join. My speech will be very short, very simple. Also, I would say that the resembles in some ways the first speakers of today, the Specialisterne example, which comes from an idea very similar to ours. But let's start. Please show us the first. The Albergo Etico means Albergo is the Italian word for the hotel. So nothing more than hotel, which is a very simple business to tell about because everybody knows it. So why Etico? I need a few words about me. I need to show you who am I, who I am, because there are some things that I think can be important in this history. I am an engineer, and also after being an engineer, I also graduated at Bocconi University with my MBA degree. After my MBA degree, I was employed. I was busy in my family business that's an hotel in Rome. So why should I tell you this? Not because I want to be great in front of you. I just want to say that I have a good scholastic background, competencies in the hotel business. But what happened then? It happened that in 2007, I had a very important accident with my motorbike, and so I spent a couple of years in a disability condition because I had also I had some orthopedic problem, and also I passed through the coma status, which means having some having many difficulties. And so this is an experience which was very important for me because then as I like to say, I put together the two things that I knew better. I put the hotel industry skills and also a very deep and also a temporary experience of disability. Please go ahead. So during my experience, what did I see? I saw that the most important problem for disabled people, of course, not for all the disabled people, only for the people who recover the good condition of us. They are out of the labor market. They cannot jump in because, like the other guy spoke before, Fabrizio, after you pass this condition, it's very hard. Whatever disability you may have, it's very hard to jump in the labor market. Maybe you never jumped in, so you are completely out. So that's what I saw. Please go. And so what we did, I wanted to do some. I had at that moment in 2009, 2010, I was recovered, and so I thought I should have done something for all the people who were in a bad condition in any case. So there were many people who recovered from their disease, but they were out of the labor market. And so I saw what was around me, and I met the model of Albergo, which is not a model that I created. I just put it in practice, a model which I saw in this another Albergo, which is in Piedmont, in Asti, which is a small village in the Piedmont region of Italy. And so I met this model, I liked this model, and I started this hotel in Rome, which is my city, of course, and it's a city that I know very well from the touristic point of view, from the hotel, from the point of view of the hotel industry. And so why did I call it Etico? First, because Etico was also the name of the model that I learned from. And secondly, because we make social inclusion of many people that can be trained, that maybe can learn not a complicated job. Working in a hotel means many soft skills rather than hard skills. You don't need to be a professor in maths or nothing to see with the artificial intelligence. You need more and more soft skills than in many other jobs, in many other positions. So what we do? We hire and train disabled people. I call them disabled people. Then I learned that everybody, also me, also you, have different capabilities. Not everybody has the same capabilities, and so it's more useful to call everybody people with different capabilities. And so we hire them, we train them, and they are trained in many different departments because not everybody has the same skills, the same talent. Please go. And so what happens is that if you hire them and train them, what do they find? What does it mean? Do they find a good job place for themselves? No, they found a path because the model is that you come with your problem. We understand what's the job which fits better in your conditions, and we train you to do that job. And then I hope our model means that after the, let's say, 12, 18 months of training, you are hired in some other places in the business industry, in the normal business industry, which is very important in Rome, as you can imagine. So you can see on this slide that after 1 year, 1 year and a half, the important is the outplacement, because with outplacement we have two, we have, let's say, three targets that we get. First one is that that boy or girl is finally safe, as a job, and knows how to carry on his life. We convince the world that everybody can have his place in this world. And also we, what happens is that also we have once again a place available in the Albergo Etico for other person, other people who can join us afterwards. And about market is very simple. Our hotel is a small one, but it's in a very historical center room, so it's an hotel for everybody. You don't need to be in the wheelchair to be guest at our hotel. You may be in the wheelchair, but of course it's an hotel for everybody. The importance is not the product, it's not the service. The important is in the production means and not in the offer. And we also, because we look for sustainability, which means we need people that pay for staying in our hotel. And we also could say it's a no-profit project, but not because we're not on a formal point of view. As a formal point of view, we are a company, we are a hotel like every other hotel in Rome. So we may have the profit and use however we want. But in our case, since we are very we are extremely we like to be we like to use all our money, all the money we can for disabled people. It's our mission, let's say. So we want to give a profit to other NGO, to other organizations that deal with the disabled people. Of course, we have many advantages that are commercial, financial, and we also have a very good climate in our hotel, because everybody knows that their job are unique, that they are aware that they're doing not only the normal job, but the very particular one. So please go into the next slide. So this is a success. Why is it a success? Because we have the capabilities, we have the competencies, and more important, we have passion. Because I passed through very tough periods, so I know what it means, and I would like to be helpful for everybody else. And of course, as everybody, and in any case, you need also to be lucky. Now, let's say that in every pitch, you should point out why you are the unique one, why you can defend your business model against all the competitors. Well, this is not the ending of the story. We would like to be imitated. We don't want to be the unique. That's why we are calling ourselves the first one, because I imagine that all the advantages that are in the human resources lies on the popularity of our business, our hotel. Also, will make other people to join our model, and I imagine that we can have very soon in Rome other Albergo. That's why we don't want to be the unique Albergo in Rome. We surely are the first, and also we may help other hotels. It happens that many hotels ask for help in this. So thank you very much, and thank you for your interest and questions.
Thank you, Antonio. That was very, very insightful. And I love the fact that you said you want to be imitated, because this is also what Best for the World is about. It's not about competition, it's about sharing knowledge and challenging each other to create a better world. And thank you to all the other speakers for taking the time to share your insights and learnings. We are a bit short on time, so I would now open the floor for questions from the audience. So please, if someone has a question, put them in the chat or simply raise your hand. I already saw a few questions during the wonderful presentations. So I'm just going to pick the first one that I saw, which is for Juliane from Alpro. And it was asked by Juliette Cockins from BILAB Europe, the executive director. Thanks for joining us. She's asking, how has B Corp been able to support Alpro on its sustainability journey and goal to 2025? Juliane.
Yeah, so thanks for the question. So I would say that going through the audit was really insightful for us, because on one hand, like answering the questions was helping us to see if like progress we already did was enough, and also all the commitments we said that was quite in line with the questions. So we could see in terms of impact that we were in the right direction. So I think it was really insightful to go through the audit to also be able to build this improvement plans that is also in line with all the commitments we took by 2025. And also when going through the audit, we had to collaborate with all Alpro departments because it's so holistic. And so like it's also enhanced communication between departments, and each department could see their own impact, let's say. And so it also helped us to engage them and builds like action plan. And yeah, also lastly, like when we had the certifications with this increase of score, we were like super proud and super happy. And so we really took the time to do a lot of celebrations and make sure that all employees are aware that they're working in a company with positive impacts, and so to make them proud. So I would say like really B Corp is really aligned with all our values, and it's on every steps, like every time we like renew our missions, our visions, it's super aligned. So we are really like aligned with the B Corp values.
Thank you. That's really great to hear that you're involving your employees so much. I'm looking at the chat. I saw a couple of questions, and there's also a lot of celebration. Moving on to the next from Bernardo. Have you taken advantage of the B Corp network in any way or form? And this question is open to any of the speakers. So please feel free, any one of you who wants to answer this.
Maybe I can answer it. We have within our banking app the area of benefits, that's how we call it. So it's about sustainable lifestyle. And there we recommend other sustainable brands to our customers to maybe switch from conventional alternatives. And there we use the B Corp network quite a lot, especially other German B Corps, to reach out to them, to convince them to become our partners, and also to show them to our customers.
As far as I'm concerned, we are a new B Corp, I would say, because it was end of 21. So not yet fully taken advantage of the big network. I found personally the Hive tool not so very easy to connect. But when there is a choice to make between suppliers or two companies or whatever, definitely our choice goes to B Corp. That is for sure. So
yeah, maybe I can also just add that there are really a lot of models who are following in the network, like to get inspiration and to really also be pushed to really do better, because when there's such this kind of webinar and we see all the practices on all different areas, we are just taking notes and we want to do better.
Yeah, I can say the same. I mean, what Juliane said, this is, I think, the most important thing about, being a B Corp. It's not only making networking, but also getting inspiration and motivation from each other, and looking at practices and also in different areas, which is very interesting, because sometimes you don't think about something you could apply also to your area. This is one of the most interesting things.
I completely agree with you, Fabrizio.
I see maybe there is a question from Stefan. Elena, how is your business growing through your impact model? How is the comparison to traditional banks? And is there a difference of customers? Could you say something to that?
Yeah, we definitely have a younger demographic than the conventional banks, because we offer a mobile-only approach and not everybody is open to that. So we don't even offer like a website login. We only have a mobile app. So I think that's the biggest difference. And of course, since we are quite young, we are crowdfunded and venture capital funded. Our business model is completely different to this of the conventional banks, and therefore it's hard to compare. In terms of our products, we are quite happy that they perform better than the benchmarks, at least until now. But from an overall perspective, it's hard to say. We are growing. Conventional banks normally aren't as much growing in customer numbers. So that's also different, where impact goes hand in hand, because of course, if we have more customers and more assets under management, our impact grows according to it.
Thank you.
And yeah, unfortunately, as Lucia said, we don't have enough time left to answer all the questions, but please feel free to also forward them to us after the webinar, so we can keep exchanging knowledge and share practices. I see a hand raised. I will quickly let Juliette unmute herself. We can't hear you.
Thank you so much. Gudrun, can you hear me now?
Yes.
I just wanted to take 2 seconds. I hope I can speak on behalf of the team to say how wonderful it is, how inspirational it is to have such amazing people like you here today, and to hear about how all your organizations are out there really making a change, the change makers that we're looking at for the future and showing others the pathway. So it's been absolutely wonderful. And I think I can speak for my whole team to say we give you a big round of applause. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, so I also really enjoyed this conversation today. And yeah, personally, it's always so inspiring to hear from different B Corps, especially from different countries. We had 5 different countries and companies represented today. And yeah, thank you very much for providing your insights. And we will continue sharing best practices over the upcoming weeks and months related to Best for the World. And yeah, please follow our channels, visit our Best for the World website to also see what's going on outside of Europe and see the full list. And yeah, wish everyone a warm, enjoyable rest of the day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.